waiting for Preston. All right, we'll call the meeting to order at 5 o'clock. We'll go around the table and let everyone introduce themselves. My name is Todd Lands. I am the current mayor.
Marjorie Morgenstern, City Council member.
Good afternoon, David Kelly, City Manager.
Jason Ferguson, Cloverdale, please.
Ashley Lopez White, School Board President.
Simmons Brill, School Superintendent.
Derek Montaigne, Public Works Director. Kevin Thompson, City of Cloverdale.
Cynthia Podesta, TK teacher and resident of Cloverdale.
Very nice. And it looks like we have no attendees on the Zoom.
That is correct, man.
Okay, public comments. Any person wishing to speak to this council subcommittee on any item not listed on the agenda may do so at this time. Members of the public have the right to speak on any item on the agenda at the time it comes up for consideration. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the subcommittee is not allowed to consider issues or take action on any item not listed on the agenda. 3 minutes are typically allotted to each speaker. Welcome, Preston. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor. No members of the public are attending online today, so if there's anyone there that would like to speak, let me know.
Thank you, Michael. Anything specific you are here to talk about?
No, just
Here to-
getting the lay of the land, thanks.
Beautiful, thank you.
Mayor, if I can just real quick, I just let the record reflect, Mike, that the school board member Addison is present.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, so it looks like under communications, we have a letter from Brad Horrell. Michael, can you put that up on there? Is that possible?
Yes, if you can, one moment.
Okay, well, Mike gets it up on the big screen, just a little bit of overview. There's a communication in the packet from Mr. Brad Horrell. He represents the Cloverdale Tennis Association as well as the most recently formed pickleball club. In the past, he has been a real advocate for coordination with the community, the city, and the school district on refurbishing the tennis courts. I think in 2009, he was able to bring to the table some funding via a grant from the United States Tennis Association to help with the cost of resurfacing the courts. I think at the time they were the surfacing was aging and in need of some maintenance. The city, the school district partnered in under the terms of the MOU that's still in effect. We were able to collaborate on that project. Most recently, there has been an interest in the burgeoning sport of pickleball. The city did fund 2 new courts at Berber Park, but there is an interest in maybe restriping some of the existing tennis courts into pickleball courts, and of course that can be accomplished in various ways. It can be kind of dual striped, or they can be painted in such a way that they're kind of dedicated to pickleball, solely as a sport. With that said, this communication, I think, is expressing interest in working together with the city and the school district on resurfacing the courts, which I think sounds like it's about time, since it's what are we now, about 14 years out since it was resurfaced in 2009, and looking at opportunities to accommodate pickleball court on at least one of the tennis courts. So that's the communication, Mayor, or just in summary, kind of overview of the interest.
Thank you. We'll move on to approval of minutes.
I just have
Unless
one
anybody has
question.
any.
Yeah, just because I'm not that adept at the pickleball situation. But how does that look? What I'm wondering is if the kids are playing their tennis match there, right? Does the extra pickleball painting make it difficult for kids to figure out they're hitting their serves in the right ways?
Limit the league from being able to have matches on them.
That's what I mean, because how they got that one area where your serve has to hit in, right? I'm just wondering if the extra lines there would cause any issues.
Probably something that we should agendize this,
Yeah.
and that way we can have a full discussion, so we can actually talk about funding along with it as well.
Okay,
We can all do our homework on it between now and then.
awesome.
And if the district can ask the PE teacher
Then you.
her thoughts on pickleball striping.
Good.
That'd be perfect.
And just for reference, Healdsburg School District recently restriped some of their tennis courts. I don't know what the costs are incurred, just information that is helpful for gathering information about costs and how they did it, how it relates to their tennis program.
So
And
we
I
can
don't
bring,
think the cost is an issue.
we can bring it up as a future agenda item, and Michael, if you could also include asking, maybe relaying a question to Brad, asking how much the tennis association is willing to put in towards this refurbishing. So we have that on record, ready to go.
And maybe also, because I know in the past, he always had a good handle on the cost.
Correct.
He's
Stay here about the,
Okay.
looks like.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
1980. Okay, approval of minutes from November 14th. No, I'm sorry. That sounds weird. Why do you have approval of minutes from November 14th?
For the last.
The last meeting was last year.
Oh,
We got pants then.
No, this is 2023 draft minutes.
Years.
2022,
They should,
Oh, you know what, the minutes themselves say 2022,
correct.
so we could have,
It's been a while since our last meeting, so that's just a typo, but it.
So move to approve November 14th, 2022 minutes.
thank you.
I second that.
Anyone against it? Thank you. Moving on to new business, the announcement of the new superintendent of Cloverdale Unified School District.
Announcement.
You want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Sure, I suppose. Which is funny that I wore the exact same suit that's in my picture today, so that was a coincidence.
He owns three.
Just a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Fortuna. And I've taught in the school system up there since 1998. I did a little bit of stint at Eureka High. And this is my 30th year in education. I've been superintendent for 13 of those. This is my 14th year. And I'm just excited to be here in the new community. And it's a lot of similarities between here and Fortuna, that's for sure, except for the weather. Not today.
you're responsible for days.
I brought it back down.
Probably glue.
Yeah, so just happy to be here. I know that in my experience at Fortuna, we really worked hand in hand with the city of Fortuna. So we did a lot of sharing of services and a lot of sharing of equipment. And so I'm really familiar with working together for that part. So I'm excited to be able to have something closely resembling to that. So it's been very welcoming. So it's been fun so far. I know it's only been a month and a half, but it's exciting. So thank you.
Any questions? Great. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
Very excited.
Thank you.
Very excited for the future.
Thank you.
You good? Any questions?
No, I just feel bad because I'm right behind you.
No, that's okay.
Nice to see you.
Come sit right here if you want.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Discussion for the Unified School District general updates. That would be on you if there's any update of anything going forward, or actually this board president. Updates of what's going on in the district.
The school turnout, I think might happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
Washington.
bus turnout, yeah.
Bus
Bus
turnout.
turnout.
For clarification.
Okay.
So,
So, and David and I are working on that as far as getting that.
Probably signed off.
Mhm.
Can't believe that's still dragging.
That's all on the title company.
You learn which companies not to use, it seems like, unfortunately.
And then I don't know if this is where we would put, or down here with the full facility improvements, we talk about the universal TK thing. we just did.
We have that on here as the next item, so we can talk about it right there.
Okay, awesome.
School's up and
Up and
going
going,
for the
sports are good.
season. We're starting the second week of school and new administrators every site and been good.
No complaints about crosswalks, traffic, all of this stuff. That's how.
I actually do have one.
See?
So my question, it's more of a question. So I know we have crosswalking attendants that are down by the middle school. And then also one by Jefferson School. So my understanding is that, and I could be way off, that were they ever paid through the city or are they just volunteers completely?
Yeah, Mayor, I'm happy to give
Yeah.
a background on that. So the crossing guard program was paid for jointly by the city and school. It was under, and this is something I think we should talk a little bit more. It's under updates, the cooperative agreement.
And I can totally wait on that if you
Yeah.
want.
Well, I think it's a good
It's
question.
one small part of the thing.
Yeah, and the city continues to fund the crossing guard position for what we call Washington School at the Hillsburg, Cloverdale Boulevard intersection. At one time, several years ago, we had a vacancy in filling the second position. We upped the pay, we even rewrote the job description to try to enable a kind of a split shift, to see if we could get somebody, because it was always someone would say, well, I can do the morning, but I can't do the afternoon, or I can do the afternoon, I can't do the morning. Okay, so we could see if we could fill that, and we tried our darndest, but we could not recruit anybody to fill that position. And what was happening was we were fulfilling that role with police officers, sometimes even a sergeant. Under the cooperative agreement, the school district pays half the cost of providing that service, and so I think under several superintendents ago, the cost became an issue that it was too high. It was difficult for the city to continue that position with either a patrol officer or a sergeant. And then the cost burden for the district was substantially high. So one of the things we did was to try to address the underlying issue with the traffic was we put in new stop signs. Previously that was approved. There was no stop signs there. Most recently, we also put signals on top of stop signs to kind of enhance that. We've also done quite a bit of enforcement in terms of writing tickets, and then for violators and not stopping. And we've also tried to do more public information around that stop sign. Kind of the decision was made, I think, by the school was to seek the school staffing to provide. We tried that, and I think there was still an interest in is to utilize school staff to fulfill that crossing guard position. And we kind of did some research, and we found that the city of Cloverdale was the only city that was funding crossing guard services. But that's an aside. But that's kind of the background to the story regarding those crossing guard positions. It continues to be a part of the cooperative agreement that all costs would be shared expense by the city. And
My understanding is there's a person doing it voluntarily, and so her question is that if we're paying the one down at Washington, why wouldn't we be paying this one as well? And so some of the complaints I've heard so far is exactly what you're saying, is a lot of people are not stopping, not a lot of people, but some people are not stopping. And obviously, those are our youngest kids, right, to go through there, so that's obviously a bigger issue. So that's good to hear. So then it gives me a better idea of what's going on. So because I agree it would be a great either shared or our expense, type of thing, as it really is for us.
So if I may, let me just circle back and add a few things that didn't get captured what David was saying. Several superintendents ago, this discussion came up about relieving our responsibility, and that's the police, having police staff out there.
Correct.
And one of the subjects that came up was that stop sign. And because we're implementing that stop sign, police would no longer have that obligation to staff that.
Right.
That gal who's there today was being paid at one time to the city. There were two of them. And as part of that discussion was, we would no longer have that need for that individual because we were moving police responsibility at that intersection once we put the stop sign there. This also came part and part with conversations about the money the school now is gonna save from the high cost of law enforcement being assigned there towards additional costs towards an SRO. That's also coming up later on in the discussion. So with that supervisor and I had, superintendent and I had conversations that led us to where we are today. That individual was made aware that the services at that location would be voluntarily on her part. And that was also what the superintendent at the time's belief was. He actually told me, we'll make sure to staff that with whatever, parents, whatever would staff that once the stop signs were implemented in there. So I think that's why that individual is there doing that voluntarily. That helps.
As you know, with somebody new coming in, it's easy.
Absolutely.
Well, but not only that, my concern is that if we're gonna have, if you get volunteers, that's exactly what you're gonna get, right? So if you have these, that they don't decide to show up, you don't really have any, so, yeah, I just wanted to bring it up and find out. I have no issue with us trying to figure that out. I just wanted to know where it was. Because you hear a lot of things, you don't really know what the truth is.
Absolutely. And I'd be happy to sit down with you offline so we can get more details about all this, is about why we're here, what it means with the school resource officer connection. And there's a lot to it. And that's one of the moving parts to it.
I'm fully understanding that. Okay, got it.
And just, I don't know if Ashley was here at the time, but with that definitely was a district's understanding, is that that's manning that crosswalk is a district responsibility
Mhm.
at a fraction of the cost of what we were paying with the shared position to have an officer there. And then the city did come and put in the stop signs, and they did and continue to do some extra enforcement there, and now the lights, so.
Stop signs have improved it, but it's the drivers, you can't jump.
Right.
Great, thank you.
We also talked about, Derek, I don't know if you were here yet or not, so maybe something good is, I know I talked to you, Chief, and I think you might have been the only one, and David, is setting back the turn lane to create a staggered visual, so that it's easier to see the kids in the crosswalk. Maybe something to think about, so, if you set back the left-hand turn lane a few feet, it would give open to see the kids coming.
Yeah, we have to see, measure it for.
Because it was the south and north people that were blowing through it.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're stopping, but if there's a larger vehicle in the turn lane, you don't stay down, see the little ones, and that's usually more after school than. Or the parents walking back after they dropped off kids.
But you hit it on the head, and you guys can talk about that one later.
Yeah.
My pet peeve of the school board from when I was there. All right, anything else? Any questions on anything on this? Any other further updates for right now? Any none? All right. Discussion, addition to school system for state law, TK and kindergarten locations. All on you about what's been going on.
Well, at our last meeting, special board meeting on Thursday, the board decided to put the TKK at the Jefferson School. So, it doesn't really change much as far as that goes. It'll still be the same, in and out, and we're gonna see what the state has to do, but there's not gonna be a creation of a new site, basically. So, we go on with the same discussion we just had. It's probably gonna feed into that as well. So, I would say that we're anxious to get some new buildings in there and some new areas in there. Get rid of some of our ancient portables that are in there. I think that'll be helpful. So we'll have to see what the architects come up with as far as what we need to redesign anything or anything like that. So, all intents and purposes, looks like the thing drop off and.
And to add to that, our timeline started when we approved it, correct? 12 months to.
We have 2 years to get it all from beginning to very end of construction. We have 2 years, 24 months. So,
And it adds for the district, it's 100 to 120 students that were required to educate. We've had TK for a long time. We had one section, and then it's grown to 2. And now it's going to grow to between 100 and 120 students.
Well, I think overall for that grade, because we're slowly starting, so we're like halfway to it.
and it also used to be, wasn't mandatory for
Right.
kids to go at TK or K. So I think the view is that it's going to be mandatory. So everybody at 4 is going to basically start. So that was the idea behind the money to get the TK stuff.
So a little background on how it's gonna affect the city. That school site was built for 12 classrooms and you're up to what, 28, I believe, at this point. The state said for the amount of kids that live there now, they require about 9 acres and it's at what, 5.5? And I believe for the numbers, if I'm wrong, please correct me. I'm totally off the top of my head.
That's a roughly half, but there's.
So they're very hesitant about adding more kids to that site because it creates 100 kids worth of traffic. And if you know TK, you're gonna have 1 kid per car basically, probably because they're 4-year-olds going to school and the traffic's already horrible, to say the least. So it's going to create some more issues for us, more complaints, more traffic jams, more accidents, more tickets, more time. However, I know that these guys have some ideas that hopefully will alleviate a little bit of that, and I look forward to helping on it and keeping it going.
And we have looked at all our sites. The south property cannot be moved forward fast enough to qualify for the funding. So that's completely out.
They went into the meeting, Measure H committee from the bond had planned on putting it at the JEH site, which is just south of the football field at the high school, and creating an early childhood education center there for TK and kindergarten. And it would have basically been a whole new little school to get them acclimated and learn how school works and things, maybe a little bit comfortable setting. However, the teachers and public pushed back pretty hard. And so it gave the board a chance to try to come up with some new ideas and hopefully find ways to fund it, which is the big ticket part of it. They kicked around a lot of good ideas and I say, hopefully it works for them. Like I said, when I spoke, I turned to them and said, well, when parents are complaining, you were the one standing up for us or for the board saying, we wanted this, so we got to suck it up a little bit. But if they said it will add, like Ashley said, about 100 kids, so they're in the 577 range within 3 years, what they said on the paper, I think was the number. And so that's a lot of addition, 110 kids more.
Makes more sense.
I would say from that meeting, though, there was a lot of good ideas thrown out that can be looked into. Staggered release times for the afternoon and hopefully bus transportation.
It's definitely going to be creative, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Make it work. Yeah, we understood though, because the TK teachers want to work with K wants to work with grade 1. I understand that, but the TK needs the state are mandating our bigger classrooms than what are existing, so you can't use the classrooms that are there now. So you're building new no matter what. So now you're tearing out new ones or older ones to put in these new classrooms. Each one has to have its own bathroom. The doors and windows have to face a playground so the kids can see a playground. There's all these little things that they have to have. And so it basically means they have to build a whole new school where they already have kids in classrooms. And so it double the price of, they have to rehome the kids that are there currently while they build a new facility and then put them back in. And it makes the cost go a lot higher than it should, and money they don't have. I see what questions. I saw the head tilt.
The questions, it's a studio. Don't have a question, I was just thinking that if I had a TK or a K and I had a sibling, I don't know how far apart.
About a block. It's not that, there's a high school in between the two sites, is all it is, and so it's really not that far of a distance. Maybe a block and a half, depending because of the turns.
No questions, it's an interesting dilemma.
Small town dilemmas right here.
Big city ideas with small town money, that's what it is.
Mayor, if I can, this is a comment for the superintendent. Development can be tricky and there's a lot of regulations, not just the city, but even the state. As much as your time is available to collaborate with us and sit down, we're here to be partners. I think the earlier the better, and that way, if there's any troubleshooting that needs to be done relative to, connecting to the sewer system, the water system, drainage becomes, something we have to address with they call it LID requirements. any of that stuff, because I know it all adds dollars for the project, and the more we can work together early on is always, I think, better for, both the district and the city. So I just want to put that out there, that I think it's, as you start to develop plans and you want to get those to us, I can have our team start taking a look and giving me constructive feedback, just in terms of the city, you have your own processes you gotta go through with the state, of course. But as it pertains to, kind of the city infrastructure, and if there's certainly any coordination on streets, restriping, stop signs, all that kind of stuff. We can start to kind of look at that early on. We have, other subcommittees that sometimes look at stop signs and kind of the public infrastructure stuff. So that may even be a venue sometimes if we need to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you be the contact for that?
Yeah, you can start with me and we'll go from there.
Their time frame is less than 2 years at this point, so beginning to end with a 6 months of that is dedicated to just the DSA, the state architect. So just know that it's the type of thing we've ever seen.
Months to have this all worked out on a full expense package.
Yeah. It's a ridiculous time frame. The state is allotting here.
And just a question, I hear the term TK, what is
Transitional kindergarten.
transitional kindergarten? I didn't know what the T.
School.
Preschool,
Yeah.
okay.
4-year-olds basically pay for that.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? I see no one in the attendees still, so we'll keep moving forward. Next one is discussion student liaison program for 23-24 school year.
Yeah, so obviously the school just started on Wednesday. I think the harder part is most, as Ashley said, most of our admin is all brand new. But I think trying to get that, I know that at the high school, Forrest and Steve are really working on it, but it's only been a few days, so it's definitely in the forefront. We're trying to get there.
Okay,
So-
just for your benefit, Superintendent, on the city website, we have a webpage dedicated to the student liaison program. Also, the application is available via a link on our website. We did push it out via our newsletter. I know it probably doesn't go to students, but to parents, hopefully. And so we tried our best to get the word out starting early summer on the program, but we didn't get any applications. So I know a lot of it comes from your team and recognizing students that have leadership skills that want to be a student liaison. Comes with a $750 scholarship. Most recently, we've only had one, but we like to have two. That way, if they can switch. We have 2 council meetings a month. That way, they can kind of switch off. And, but most recently, we've had such committed student liaisons that they've attended both meetings. So it's been a lot of time and sometimes late meetings for our liaisons to attend. But gratefully, the student liaisons that I've had the opportunity to work with have been just all of them have been amazing kids, and off to great colleges. And I imagine they're going to be running for governor or something.
I hope so.
And so can I just ask, I know we haven't really had this, but if you had multiple applicants, what is the process? Does the city and the school collaborate to select the students?
Yes, so the this
Interview them?
subcommittee will review them, just because the applications are from under,
Yeah.
typically they're under 18, we do it confidentially, just so we're not revealing any student information. So we won't put it in the packet, but each of you come with your thoughts, and there's just a consensus on who you recommend, and council generally accepts whoever this subcommittee recommends be the student liaison officer.
Questions or comments?
The last one was wonderful. I really liked it.
Yeah, we've had some good ones. Some really good
We did that.
liaisons.
We tried to put their names up there, capture the ones that have served in the past.
Right, public works preparation for 23-24 school year.
Okay, thank you. So we have been trying to prep, we did it, as David mentioned, the Public Works Subcommittee okayed us to install at the corner of North Cloverdale and North Street. Throughout the summer, we installed the larger red flashing lights to help with that intersection. And then we have been getting ready, trying to push out this thermal striping on school intersections, school crosswalks. We've done, I think, 7 intersections so far, and we have another 11 on the books starting this Thursday. And this Thursday, that'll start our phase 2, and then we'll go into, I'm hoping, phase 3 as we identify the cross hatching in each intersection. And we'll be adding a hatched intersection at Caledonia. Yeah,
Why can you spell that?
it's probably not on there.
Okay, Caledonian is the little court that's next to.
Yeah, so it's
the-
encapsulated into its school zone.
In that area.
Somehow it's been missed, so we're gonna bring that back up to where it should be, so. And then should take you guys a week or 2, and I'm trying to organize a walking audit. So we were hoping to do it on a day where it's a walk or bike to school type day, but that may be into November. I'd rather do it on a day when it's not raining, so I will notify everybody when we're gonna try to get that going.
Yeah, it'd be great to collaborate with, parents and teachers who wanna, do a walk to school. Maybe we even schedule different schools, so we do the elementary school and maybe the, Washington schools. We could certainly do the high school as well. Where with parents, we identify improvements that they would like to see that would benefit, or support, either the school children walking to school or even riding a bike, and what kinds of things can we prioritize in our CIP or in our maintenance program. I think Derek's taking on the project of really making sure the intersections are restriped. It's been a deferred maintenance issue for the city, so we want to get those up to speed. But even looking at areas where we may need truncated domes to ensure that the crosswalks or the entryways to our crosswalks are ADA compliant. We've recently been contacted by parents who have children that are visually impaired. So, having all those elements in place to support, particularly our school children that, may have, special needs. As an example of that, we recently installed audio detection on our crosswalks at First Street and at Citrus Fair. Basically, you can wave your hand and you have to touch the button and it'll detect it that you're going to want to cross the street, and that's to help with folks that are visually impaired. So I think what our public works director Montani is offering is an opportunity to kind of collaborate with, again, parents and get out there and start identifying what are some priorities for striping improvements, other that we can start putting in the queue. Doesn't mean that they're all going to happen overnight, but if we can kind of prioritize funding and get some of those things done, it'd be good to address the needs, especially for our school children.
Any questions, comments? I see we have a new attendee. If you want to make a question or comment, just raise your hand. Seeing none, I love the proactive take on this, Derek, so thank you.
Yeah.
You're asking for it. I love it. When you ask parents questions about what we can do better, you get answers. Lots of them. And so I love it, but thank you for doing that. All right, seeing none, we'll move on. Standing items, the update for the cooperative agreement review by this city school.
I'll take this one, Mayor. Just by way of background, the city council and the school board adopted a cooperative agreement that covered a couple of things. One was the school resource officer, the special events and how insurance and liability is addressed. the tennis courts and kind of joint use of parks and facilities. And there was an interest by previous membership in this subcommittee of kind of updating that. There's some outdated pieces to it, and of course we've really addressed the school resource officer, completely separately under a separate agreement. So it's kind of opportunity to take a fresh look at that, the existing cooperative agreement, and see where there's opportunities for us, especially superintendents, you come in with kind of a new set of eyes, you might think, hey, these are other things we could be doing, or can do to, put it in writing and kind of memorialize things that we want to, do in terms of programming. You mentioned one early on was, sharing of equipment. So that might be an avenue that, if we do that, then it kind of addresses, liability and indemnification. And so we can, we have something to rely on for when those opportunities arise. But it's good for you to take a look at, because a couple of things we've partnered, for example, on the heating and the solar, at the Veterans Memorial Pool. So there may be some more things for us to kind of look at around pool usage for classes, for after pool programs, more on joint use, of course, with the SRO separate, and then this tennis court / pickleball concept might be something we can iron out in the cooperative agreement. So
Yeah, I'd love to get a copy of it.
okay.
I think I can send you, it was myself and Joe Paula, when he was on the committee, that were meeting together outside of here to work on it, to bring it back, and there was a lot going on, so we made a lot of edits, but there was still more to do on it, so I have a copy of it, all of the edits that we had.
No, I think Joe had said he wanted to continue to finish with you,
Oh, okay.
as if not, let me know, and I'll take over as the council, but it'd be nice to
I know.
we trust him to do it, and then we can, review it at that point. Either way, it's fine by us. Questions? Any comments from anyone? Seeing none, move on to the SRO update.
Great. I'm gonna take this thing. As most of you know, and Glenn, I don't know if you've had an opportunity to read the MOU for the SRO in the city and in the school district. It's another thing you and I can pop offline.
My neighbor let me know.
Yeah. But I just want to give you an update about where we are at. Back in May of 2021, went to the council for a 10th police officer position. In order for us to make a school resource officer position possible, I needed another staff member to do so. And in that, were discussions about a contribution from the school to assist in making that happen. Unfortunately, we've had challenges in finding applicant. We started out just with a hiring, did not receive any applicants. Then we went to a hiring incentive, went back to council, they approved a hiring incentive. Again, we were unable to get qualified applicants. And I just want to say that it's not necessarily about Cloverdale. It's about the way that law enforcement is right now. Everybody in this county is struggling with qualified applicants and pools of applicants. Years ago, we had many to choose from. It's a little bit different now. So it's more of a lack of interest in career than it is, anything else. So we went back again to council seeking the position of a trainee, which means we hire somebody without experience, pay their way through the academy, and then upon completion of the academy, we would then hire them as a police officer where they go through then a internal field training officer position. So I'm happy to report that we were able to find a local gal who grew up. She's Cloverdale born and raised, went through the school systems, and she is currently in the police academy. And she started on July 24th, and we anticipate her graduating on December 8th. At that time, she would be sworn in, and then we would start a field training program, which is anywhere between 14 and 18 weeks for us. At the end of that, we would then be applying a position for the school resource officer position. The gal I'm talking about would not be the school resource officer. Certainly, we want a veteran officer who's able to work with the kids, probably has their own kids who can relate. And so we do the flyer process and hope to try to get that individual in our schools in the following school year. I just don't know where we're gonna be on getting them through FPO. With December being a graduation and 18 weeks from there. So we got a little bit of time left, but our intent is to get her out and get a school resource officer to you. So that's the status of where we're at right
All right.
And that's a lot better outlook than we've had for the last 5 years.
Correct. Yes, correct.
Yes. Been a long time coming.
The MOU, I think, is a helpful document to review. It's jointly adopted by the school board and city council.
Great.
After, quite a bit of work.
Yeah.
Work by the chief and, your district council and your former superintendent.
And to David's point, when you read the cooperative agreement, it has a section about the SRO, but it's very minimal. Whereas the MOU really outlines the responsibilities from both the school's position and the city's position. So I think there shouldn't be anything where you have questions about it. What's not covered for you guys, what's covered for us.
Great.
More questions or comments from anyone? No hands from the
I'll let my
attendees.
neighbor know.
All right, next.
They already heard.
Yeah.
PBB Cool Student Lifeguard Certification. That's something that we still need on here.
Well, it's certainly up to you, Mayor, and subcommittee members. Just a quick update. This item was placed on the agenda. For a couple of reasons. One is the school district is interested in utilizing the pool for meetings, some of the ed requirements for swimming as part of graduation. Secondarily, the school district could participate in funding the rooftop solar heating system to about 25, or I think it would be like 23% of the cost. With the goal being, heat up the water enough so that it's tolerable, either earlier in the spring or maybe later in the year, after the close of the pool. We contract with the Y to provide the the pool services, which they operate and maintain, and then bill the city for the services that they provide. But there's also been an interest from the school district to use the pool for kind of end of the year special graduation activities. And the question becomes, whether the Y provides lifeguard services, or if that's something the district's going to provide. So there's that. But in the past, we've had challenges with filling the lifeguard positions. If the Y actually pays pretty good, I think it's between $15 and $20 an hour, which I had that opportunity when I was in high school. There's a real interest in working or collaborating with the Y and the school district and trying to find students who would like to be lifeguards. And the Y will essentially cover the costs of meeting the certification. Usually it's kind of an after the fact, that they'll repay the cost or pay the student back for the cost that they incurred to get certified. And so it's an opportunity to work with the PE teachers, possibly or even school administration, just trying to find promote the program and get interested students who want to get certified, because it helps one maintain the pool program. Sometimes if we don't have a lifeguard, someone doesn't make it, we end up having the Ys that not only they can't always backfill it, and so we have to usually close the pool for the day, and we get really bummed.
Well, they also only have so many kids per lifeguard, and so they would have to keep certain areas closed, only allow so many in. So it's something we want to get ahead of. Maybe in the spring we start promoting it and pushing it and seeing what we can do. And we just table it till the springtime. That way it's still on there, and
Move forward with it.
Anything, anyone? Okay. Next is the Times Square property.
Okay, well, the Times Square property was a former redevelopment property owned by the city. One of the key elements to future development of the property was extension of Washington Street through to the existing section that it fronts on Washington School. In addition to that, there was a piece of property that was formerly planned for a proposed skate park, which is subsequent to that, the school district is in the process of, well, we did a lot line adjustment. And we're in the process through escrow with Fidelity National Title to transfer that property formally to the school district. Today, we did confirm kind of the final language I think that's needed for the legal description after multiple tries. And we do have your original signed document that you asked about today to them. So I think they have everything that they need to be able to get that document recorded, which would officially transfer the portion of property which would be located on the west side of the extension of Washington Street to the district for the purposes of a bus turnout, which had been kind of preliminarily defined. Part of this extension of Washington Street includes some infrastructure that will be beneficial for the school to connect to. Primarily, that's going to be, I mean, besides the sidewalks and the bike lanes, there is intended to connect the existing drainage facilities. There's, again, next to the gym, there's what's called the LID facility that ultimately the kind of the solution that we devised was we couldn't put all that stormwater in one storm drain because of the capacity issues, and so we're going to split that. Some of it would be conveyed down Citrus Fair Drive, or an underground pipe and along Citrus Fair Drive, and the other portion would go south on the extension of Washington Street. So kind of a lot going on there, but the intent is to extend Washington Street, obviously complete this lot line adjustment to transfer that property to the school district, but in doing so also connect to the city storm drain system to be able to convey the storm drainage. Previously, it surface flowed onto the Times Square property. It used to get clogged up, and it could create issues for both the city and the school. So hopefully, this drainage solution will be a benefit to both the city, the school district, and even the Citrus Fair. And ultimately, we're hoping to get Washington Street punched through so that, I think for traffic flow purposes can be really beneficial, because Citrus Fair Drive tends to get kind of backed up during school morning. So all these things are in the works. The Washington Street extension is slated to be constructed as part of the Alexander Valley Healthcare Facility. And I know they're working on the improvement plans for public infrastructure. And we're kind of expecting that, any day now to be submitted to the city. So
They're hoping to break ground in about 2 months. 2.5 months.
Hope they're not using Fidelity.
Yeah, since this was supposed to be done almost a year ago.
Yeah.
Good thing you kept Kevin on so they'd be done by September, I know. Any questions or comments? There aren't snide comments like mine.
What does the Times Square property mean? Is that the whole?
That's the whole acres. It's right there in front of the Washington School.
There you go. Gotcha.
It's 3 parcels right there. It's called Times Square.
Okay. Thank you.
yeah, the name derived from originally it was slated for private development, and they called it Times Square.
Gotcha.
The condos to the west of it are Times Square apartments.
Gotcha.
Condos.
I asked who owns the property, the school district?
The city.
The city owns
Well,
that property.
So there's a portion of it that is touching Washington School. the city or school bought from the city, free of bus turnout. So that's part of the discussion. And Washington Street's going to go all the way through to Hillsborough Avenue. So we didn't want this little piece of land about as big as this room. This touching their property, it'd be perfect for the school. So we worked out a deal about a year ago. And it's finally going
Started a
through.
while ago, but
Did we do?
I was on the board when it started.
On the
I know my fourth year here.
part of Washington,
We did
that's
not,
part of that, okay, where there's a sliver of.
yeah, there's still a real thin sliver triangle.
There's a big drain there too, right there by that north part of the
Yeah,
lot there, northwest part of the lot, there's a big drain right there too.
Yeah, that's what it's gonna incorporate into that storm drain going to the east. And the city has money we've put in for that storm drain setup.
Okay.
there's, I think, what Preston's referring to, on the west side of kind of the Citrus Fair parcel, there's a little triangle piece. It's called Sliver that is owned by the school district. And if you're to kind of true up the right of way perfectly, it would be ideal to have that be dedicated to the city. Not required, it's, it's kind of for lack of better words, part of existing asphalt and curb, but in a perfect world, we'd like to see it, a nice well-defined public right of way through there. And that's something that offline we can talk about a little bit.
Do we already have plans that have been approved and submitted for what it was gonna look like for the school? Yeah.
Turnout, the plans are done.
Got it.
They're coordinated with
We just
the
got-
engineers for Times Square. And
That's
the
the-
that as soon as we have those advertisements.
It might be too old.
It's supposed to get touched this summer.
Yeah, there's.
And then on the other end, on the north end, there's a little sliver of street that we have. And we've always said, as soon as somebody wants to do the paperwork. City will come.
Okay.
Yeah.
so essentially that's the
Extension of what?
extension and then
Yeah, where it says lot D on the left, where the green lines curve,
Mhm.
that's the extension right by the gym. The
Okay.
gym's not on that plan,
yeah, those are
by the basketball courts.
there's a whole housing complex in that empty field there.
Gotcha.
So all that white is Times Square.
So there's a little sliver on the left side of the green road. That's the piece that you're getting from us. And that's where your bus turnout will go, right, in the road portion of that.
Hey, Chief, if you wouldn't mind, can you point that at the camera for a second? Just for the record.
And so our plan.
There we go.
Good.
And is curb and gutter. And then our turnout, so.
And then there's an exhibit, I can share with you.
I think I have something in my office too.
All right, anything else? Seeing none? Nothing? Okay. Next one is the school district south properties. It's probably Preston.
And I'm just gonna ask about over there.
Well, we're still working with consultants like Dudek. And Elder Engineering has been drawing up potential drainage realignment through there so that we can get as much usable area on that property as possible. The intent is still currently to do fields on part of it.
Sports fields to be
Yeah.
together.
Sports fields. And, both sides are developing now and, hopefully the utilities are gonna be coordinated for possible future use by the school district through there, by the developers on either side. As well as we had a commitment from the Baumgartner development to do all the grading for sports fields there as well. So which would include the drainage. And then, we've been meeting with the various entities like Fish and Wildlife and Fish and Game and everybody to get their take and making adjustments based on their feedback to get any realignment of that seasonal drainage to be able to get past their approvals. And trying to make it, as efficient as possible, rather than 60-foot long bridges.
So I,
to reasonable drainages.
I've been explaining this or talking to Kevin and David about this seasonal drainage and explaining that what's going on there. Could you talk about the hardship the school is having trying to put things on it because of the amount of water that they're saying comes through the drainage?
Yeah, so right now, coming from the north, from the Baumgartner development is a 32-inch culvert. So that's the amount of flow that historically comes under that gravel road. It's just gravel right now. Is that between Renner and the wine storage facility?
Basically the driveway you go to the ALS storage.
Yeah. Does that have a name?
No.
It will be Baumgartner Lane.
Okay, so that currently is 32-inch culvert. The plans I've seen are expanding that to a 12-foot culvert, which is far beyond what the district should have to bear as far as doing additional drainage through there. So that's an immense amount of water that's being added to that property.
And because of that, the seasonal drainage now for the school is showing to be how wide?
Well, you're looking at right now, it's like 10 to 20 feet, depending on where it is. And now they're looking at, with that new volume of water, it going to 60 feet.
So that's a lot
So
of
it takes
property.
a huge footprint out of that property.
So that's what I was trying to explain.
There's gonna be more water, is the culvert bigger, or how is that?
No, because the landscape is.
So the new culvert, the current historical culvert is 32-inch diameter. The new culvert is sized to handle the outflow off all that hardscape of 12-foot diameter. So it's a tremendous.
We have a drainage study I can send you for Baumgartner, so it's. I mean, technically, there shouldn't be any more blowing off than was in the past because of their LIDs, but.
Right, so we should be fine with a 32-inch culvert. And the flow that's coming through that, and then we're fine with.
The 32-inch culvert, installed and designed long ago, right?
Yeah.
So-
Is it suggesting that the developer shouldn't put in a larger facility? Because it's certainly.
If there's a requirement, the size of that culvert is based on the calculation of potential flows that are gonna come through it. So if flows are being generated to far exceed the historical 32-inch culvert, then.
Well, we don't know that the 32-inch culvert was calculated off of the maximum 100-year flow, right? We don't have any background of what calculations were made on that install,
Like
right?
why they initially put the 32 in.
No, but
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
that's historically what has come through there, is a 32-inch culvert. And it's been there a long time. I'm sure we're approaching a 100-year event.
I
It's
used to
time
be
for
in it when I
that
was a kid.
culvert's been there. So if there's that much additional flow coming through, it shouldn't all just fall to the district to dig a 60-foot wide river through the property. When that 10 to 20 foot has sufficed for most of our lifetimes. Actually, everybody's lifetime.
Yeah, I know we understood that there was some concern about it. Of course, we have to operate under our requirements. And the culvert crossing was designed for multiple reasons. One was obviously there's new flood control requirements, and this was designed to meet the Sonoma County Flood Control District requirements. So it was upsized for various reasons. Was one based on more current precipitation calculations, which those have increased significantly in more recent years. But it also was designed to have a certain amount of what do they call it, gap between the highest level and the top of the culvert. And ultimately support a lot more traffic that is being generated with the project, you know, there's certainly, so it's what's called a conspan. And so it's a engineered concrete device, and those are just much larger. They're not a typical round pipe that you build a road on top of. They're basically like a bridge. So the intent was design something that allows for the free flow of water. I did check with our city engineer who did the technical evaluation of the study submitted by the developer. And they were mitigating a 100-year storm event. So on site on Baumgartner, they have a number of retention and detention basins that were intended to mitigate, you know, their runoff, so that what we saw was that post conditions match preconditions. You know, with that said, there, on terms of that project, what we've seen, if you look at over time, that whole drainage way flowing from north to south has witnessed a pretty significant increase in flows, even without the project, the Baumgartner project. I think a lot of the development upstream has contributed stormwater to it, and so when you look at kind of we can go on our GIS, for example, and you can look at historic photos over time. You can see how much wetter that drainage has become over the last about 20-year time frame, and it's significantly. I think because of all the change in precipitation patterns coupled with more runoff has resulted in that system conveying more drainage. And I'm not trying to make excuses for the developers. That's kind of what we looked at, because we take it pretty serious when it comes to trying to mitigate stormwater impacts from developers, and in this case the study was done by Walsh Engineering, and it seems like the analysis met the technical requirements and all that. So it wasn't designed to say that more water was going to be flowing off the side per se, but accommodate, again, precipitation, driveway, traveling on top of this. And it's different because now a lot of the standards don't want pipes. They want an open bottom so that groundwater, so anyways, that's a little bit of a background on that analysis, but we can certainly provide that, like President, if you want to take a look at it. It's a lot of technical calculations. I rely on our city engineer to apply and check it, and they did that and verified that it was done in accordance with current stormwater requirements. I think it's kind of a reflection that we're all seeing, more stormwater because of the rain events and just the flashiness of the rain events that's contributing to more flow in our creeks.
So my question would be, when the water reaches the south end of the school property and against Kelly Road, who is responsible and where does it go at that point? Because now you're taking it all to one exact location from all this property. What's going to happen at that point? Because Kelly Road is owned by the city now.
Yeah, to look at the Direct Creek Rancheria and look at flow calculations and how
See where it goes. We should really look into that before, and maybe this is something that West Yost and Dudek get together.
Absolutely.
And start talking and saying, what is best case scenarios for everyone here? So that we're not having these arguments about it and trying to figure it out, and they're not having to put in a $2 million bridge to get to a softball field.
Well, yeah, that'd be nice.
So, or deeming half their property useless. That's kind of where it is at this point. I just think that it's nothing that anyone did or planned for. And maybe we should look into that. Maybe we can get our contactor, he gets some dudek.
Yeah.
So David, and he can hook it up to with Yoast plus Yoast. And we should really look into that, where they're all going to meet right there at Kelly Road and see what the heck's going on. Preston and who's the other person I sent it, who does, oh, Kathleen has them, I already have them for him, Kevin.
Yeah, the stormwater
Yeah,
analysis.
they already have, also it to me a while back, and I think that I sent both of them. Okay. They haven't. Questions? Okay, thanks for coming. Very nice to meet you.
Learning a lot. I have talked to all of you.
Thank you.
My big thing would be is that, we haven't really discussed it with the board, but I just would really like to know what, what we're getting ourselves into with the land before we even have a process. I mean, if it's gonna be several $1 million just to mitigate, then you just gotta wonder if that's even an issue, it's even, you're just pouring money down a drain, basically. So that would be the biggest part to me, is to get an idea first, if there's even, if all the mitigation takes up, we got, half of what we originally thought, but then is it even worth putting another dime into it, and so,
When we purchased, we had a plan for 4 fields, you down to 2 already because of this.
right, and no other buildings at all?
Nope, bathroom and parking lot. Former superintendent had an idea of a early childhood education center out there.
Okay, well, that's headed now.
We weren't really for it at the time, but he was really pushing hard on it, but it is what it is, but we also had the 4 fields and, the one hub was the design.
And then I wasn't on the school board then, but from my understanding, it was also the city's growing and properties were being purchased, but our school sites were landlocked everywhere.
That was the
So it
only,
was also,
that was the only property in Cloverdale's sphere of influence was big enough for a school site. So we went to the property owner, wrote him this big letter explaining our needs, and he gave us a great deal on the property. So there was value in it no matter what you did. You walked in having $1 million in equity on the, when you signed the ink on the line, so that's not the problem. The problem is what you can do, because that
Right.
Yeah.
That's what, right.
seasonal flow and how wide it has to be. It can make or break the property for the school.
Yeah.
So if we can do anything to hook them up and see if they can figure out something, maybe shrink it down would be nice.
Yeah, there may be some opportunities. I mean, if the school district's interested, of course, working with our council, is some of that land, is there an opportunity for the district to partner with the developer, for example? Maybe recoup some of your capital investment. We'd be interested in saying, there's opportunity where they have park fees that could then be, pushed into developing the sports complex. So there's some opportunities there, and it's an idea. I share that because that requires, everybody to buy in on that concept, but and support by our elected officials and your elected officials, but I've seen those kind of partnerships work successfully where it helps you leverage developers' interests with the school districts and the city's interests, and see if we can't get something that is beneficial for the community.
For sure.
Yeah, because part of the rationale all along was that the city, the developer, and the schools all have a big need for open space. And fields are one open space that
Were your fields slated for turf or for that?
I don't know that we got that far.
Turf is a completely different runoff.
No one ever discussed it, but we all like. And I actually shouldn't speak here. We like grass.
Yeah.
It's very hard to make.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know that was ever on the table, just because, the first thing would be cost to put that in.
I know you have a 6 o'clock meeting.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else? Awesome. Next is the school facility improvements. Basically measure H stuff. Anything new
Well,
going
the
on?
turnout is Measure H.
Yeah, I think it'll
You kinda discussed
basically
it.
be done with our Measure H funds once we do the TKK. And then the lot line adjustment thing at Washington, that's from what Patty said, that'll pretty much be done.
Wipe it out. Perfect. Great, you guys got a lot of stuff done.
Yeah.
Looks really great. All right, and we probably take that one off. Cause it'll be covered under the TK. We do that.
Well, I would leave it though, because we're talking about doing upgrading or updating our
Master plan.
master,
Yeah.
facility master plan too,
Okay.
so I would leave it there.
Great.
You
Or
want
we could
to,
even change it to school facility master plan, basically, wanted to instead of improvement.
so revise the like school facility master plan.
Because we have a fair amount of money coming back from our previous projects, because, you know, school does it all in arrears, I mean, the state does it all in arrears, right? So then we've got several $1 million coming back from what we used before, and so it'll just, we want to make sure we're set and know exactly what we're going to do with that as the money comes trickling back in. So.
Great.
And then we have one, but I think we need to update it, basically.
2014.
I think that was 16 or 14. I can't
Yeah, it
remember.
started 14, finished 16.
Mhm.
All right. We're basically done right here. We don't have any planning or development projects going on that are different than what we haven't talked about, do we?
Well, there's one, just give you an update, so there's really three current projects, the two adjacent to the school, the southerly school site is what we call Baumgartner, which is under construction. To the south of you is the Fighting Collie.
What's the Baumgartner, what's the scheduled date of being done?
Oh, I think they have, so there's two phases to that project. They're currently working on phase one, which is with their affordable housing component. And,
How many units in that phase?
90.
Kevin,
Is it nice? Yeah.
No, there's more than that, there's,
Oh, the first, yeah, the
It's
first,
the big
yeah,
one.
yeah, around maybe.
And then second
And then
phase?
the townhouses, I think there's 56 of those, but. There's the townhouses and the affordable.
Yeah.
Multi-family.
I'm gonna say like the total thing, if I remember correctly, was like 131. Or
It was
something.
300 at one.
It was 305 at one point, yeah. And so the first two phases, it's like, it's 90 and 56 or 57.
So will all the infrastructure get put in first before you start phase one?
most of the backbone infrastructure, except for in phase two, which is really the single family homes. The street network and there's also a park that's planned for that, will not.
And how are they gonna work? Are they gonna work north to south or east to west, or what are they, do you have any idea what?
I think they're kind of trying to do almost the entire site improvements with water.
I think they
storm
were
drainage.
probably gonna go south to north, with the multifamily first, and the townhouses second. I think David's right, it's all of them gonna happen.
It looks like
A lot of the utilities are in.
It's like Cloverdale goes right into it, right?
It does,
does.
yeah.
Are there any other exits or entrances?
There is an exit that will head east to the boulevard.
Okay,
And that we're calling that that's on the south side of the Payless, and we're calling it Baumgartner Lane.
okay.
That's where the culvert is we talked about.
It'll be just between, it'll come out between the Renner Fueling Station on the north and the Vintners Co-op on the south.
Gotcha.
And Foothill will dead end into the school's south property. Well, there'll be a turn there, but it will come right.
Is the idea would be to extend that to our property or not?
Your property line.
Yeah, I mean, it's never
No, okay,
it's never been on the board that it's gonna go through.
gotcha.
If you partner with the developer, we would probably say we want it to go through maybe, but again, that depends.
But right, as of now, it's gonna dead end into a chain link fence next to a softball field.
Gotcha.
Then
Hopefully couple.
there's the Fighting Collie project, which is south of the south of the
South
school,
Southfield.
south of the Southfield.
Or you mean the elder housing,
Right, right, and that's 24 units and not.
and that's gonna have access right by ours also?
Yeah, that's correct.
And they're building the road.
Is that the only access?
Yes,
Mhm.
and they're building the road in and out right now.
And what does that look like? Does that look like just like a few houses? Does that look like?
25, 24, 24.
So they're gonna be those communities?
It looks like a little cul-de-sac community,
Yeah.
They have,
gated community.
the primary access will be via Kelly Road off of, South Cloverdale Boulevard. It's unnamed, I think, at this point, but they have a private, where they're gonna maintain the street, so there's gonna be a private street that serves kind of these clustered single-family homes for the elder housing. They have a long-term interest in a parcel that is fronts on the boulevard for a possible hotel. That's what they said, but we don't have we have no plans or anything at this point that have been submitted or already been provided to us.
And that is also annexed into the city as well?
It is,
It is.
yeah. So the entire school property, it has
And how
been,
about the one on the other side, south of that, which is like they're doing some site work there too?
That's all the same property.
Yeah.
The same project, that's right.
yeah.
Okay.
We also, previously, the city had approved I think it's 24 units or 23 units, multifamily residential housing on the boulevard. The developer's name is Steve Ledson. This is kind of almost across the street from the car wash,
The
or,
old strip thing that's right.
yeah, the Patriot gas
I
station.
attended there this morning,
Oh, okay.
housing apparently right now.
It's gonna look like part of our whole back.
It's like, it's like
Yeah.
a strip going
Yeah.
through there.
Yeah.
Got it.
Looks similar to the one that's.
Next to it.
Yeah.
We've actually asked the developer, I think it's requested the mayor to see if there's opportunity to prioritize housing for teachers. It's market rate rentals. There will be 2 affordable units that will be under our inclusionary, we'll call our inclusionary ordinance, that the developer will either, he has the option of providing them or paying the fee. Typically developers pay the fee because it's kind of less burdensome for them, but.
You'll be getting some impact fees from that project.
Right, so that's the developer was kind of on hiatus during the drought and then COVID, so. He's recently indicated the willingness to or interest in getting going fairly quickly, so that was one mayor I just wanted to share.
No, that's good, and actually, I wasn't going to bring it up because I didn't know if he had actually responded or anything yet, however, built a nice project. He's good to work with, he's very good to work for you guys, like if you ask questions, he'll answer them. That's why I thought he might be willing to partner for prioritizing teachers for teacher housing. Thank you. Yeah, it'd be a great thing, and not only for your teachers, but for just optics alone, even if no teacher takes advantage of it. To show that we, take pride in our schools and we're trying everything we can for them.
Right. Now, we just got a request from the state of Bureau, where the school district, which is no big deal, but they said they were already approved for a cross on Asty Road or something, or some sort of a housing.
Yeah, so
Small apartment thing, so,
yeah,
well, in the city also, or not?
it is, there's a 75 unit, very low income,
Like Alexander Apartments or something,
Yeah.
Valley Apartments?
Alexander Valley Apartment Project, on Osty Road, just about roughly a quarter mile, south of, First Street / Crocker Street.
Okay.
The project developers have applied for, federal tax credits, and that's the primary funding source that developers are using to develop affordable housing. They did get funded last round, and so I suspect that they'll do better this round.
And they've already been approved by the city?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. Yeah, there's been a,
But there's no road ground or anything, it's just your land right now.
right, no improvement plans have been
So I tried to
submitted.
drive out there, and I didn't see anything, there's nothing.
Just as an aside, we recognize that, you know, one of the concerns that was expressed by the school district, but also our council pretty vehemently, was
Safe routes to school.
exactly safe routes to school. Kevin was a real lead on getting a grant of CDBG funds. Believe it or not, it's, even though there's kind of paths going to that site, the improvements cost about $700,000 to improve the sidewalk and walkability, and that doesn't even include all the things we'd really like to do. But we were awarded a grant for about half of that to start improving the sidewalk along First Street as you head due east, which, you know, it has a lot of other benefits to it, to getting just people safely out to River Park.
Would that be the main access for that? To come
That
to
or
town?
Citrus Fair.
Yes, it's kind of halfway in between the two.
I think it's closer, but just because of the flow going to the middle school.
So we're trying our best to get ahead of it. I mean, even if it doesn't go forward for some reason, I think just doing the pedestrian improvements and sidewalk improvements are a good thing. But, you know, ideally we're actually, we were working on the project today, so you know, we got to do environmental and get the design going on, and that's all our intent is to get that going, put that out the bid as quickly as we can to improve that sidewalk, largely on the south side of First Street, all down to the 101.
I would just say what would be helpful for me is, it would be good that maybe if I could forward you or either one is just really to drive me around and see maybe that one. A lot of stuff is all sounds good, but it's hard to really.
Make sure.
In the past, we did a field trip as estimate.
Yeah, I mean, that would be fantastic. I mean, even the Baumgart's thing, just to give you this explanation of what goes where and where it goes. I mean, I've been there, but.
Maybe we plan
I
that.
would take a school bus and, or a van.
I think it's great, yeah, I mean, and even some of this just the city improvements, just because I'm not from here, so it's great to know kind of the thoughts in the future and where some of the issues are,
Right.
things like that too. We can certainly help each other out.
And you know, just to be honest, we're not without our challenges with developers. I mean,
Contentious one right here.
we're trying to make sure we get everything that is required, you know, or it's the city standard, city requirement, a condition of approval.
But it's a huge push for low-income housing.
Well, and the huge push limits what they have to do.
Right.
And so that's the problem, is what they have to do is within a certain boundary, and then everybody's on their own after that.
Well, I made sure that all we were doing was saying yes, so it was pretty easy, rather than sticking my neck out there for a project that we didn't was approved yet, so. Because it should, that's, you need to get, I'm assuming they need to get that part of their application, I'm sure, if they have to have a direct link to school.
Anything else? Good, all right. Got on the future agenda items, the regulation size pool feasibility plan.
Yes, this was, this came up at the Planning and Sustainability Subcommittee, and whether there was an interest, it was specifically referred to this subcommittee, and whether there was any interest in the school. I think the Hillsborough school district has a pool. Is there any interest in developing additional aquatic facilities, and kind of put this on your queue is something that is a future CIP. So it landed here as this future agenda item, whether the subcommittee wanted to discuss this more formally. What I shared was it usually starts with this effort, really kind of starts with doing a feasibility analysis, and they don't come cheap. You hire an aquatic consultant to really look at what are the needs, what's the programming that would be served by a pool. It kind of drives the size of the pool, where it would be located, what are some preliminary costs. His question is, does the district want a partner? Does one take a lead? How do in terms of delivering an aquatic facility for the community.
Is the ask basically just to have, because the one we have currently is a small pool, that was the ask to make it bigger?
Well, I
More
think
competitive type of
provide,
Olympic sized
Yeah.
pool type of thing?
right, provide for additional opportunities for people to have swim team and programming. That then also kind of dovetails with providing additional opportunities
Sure.
for the community. I can say I had some experience with these in the past, and anything to do with aquatics that comes with a price tag, and
Well,
they're great, but
I know.
they have big dollars.
Fortuna's been looking at doing something like this for a long time, and the issue isn't in the pool, the issue is maintaining the pool, that's where the big obstacle is.
Right.
And so, everybody says it's great to have a pool, blah, 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 but. Yeah, it's,
Yeah, they don't cost recover.
no, they don't, not at all.
So, I mean, I would.
So, yeah, it's get something bigger, right? So, again, it's not currently being, the current community pool is not really.
It's not Olympic size or
Right,
regular
it's not-
size.
Right,
You couldn't do it.
no meets.
But there.
Gotcha, okay.
I would recommend this going to your master plan. And if you guys decide you want a pool and a swim team, that it becomes part of that, and then you bring it back if that's something you're seeing as for you. Makes sense?
Yeah.
Awesome. Meeting schedule for the calendar year.
And Mayor, so we put this on here, because we do have one more meeting, regular meeting scheduled. On October 16th. And so just kind of really for the benefit of superintendent, the council, usually in January, conducts a review of the subcommittees and the appointments. And as part of that, also evaluates the dates and times. So we wanted to put this on there because, it gives at least the opportunity at the next meeting to discuss what you'd like to have meeting set for this subcommittee. In the past, we've kind of been all over the board. There's been times where we've had monthly meetings, so we set a schedule once a month. We went every other month, and most recently it's kind of more quarterly. And you can tell we haven't met for a year. So this is really for the benefit of the subcommittee is.
Well, we would probably have a reorganization meeting in December also to do committee assignments too, so it may change for us also. My preference would be, I know it's probably a future agenda item, would be, every other month sounds good by me, because I'm new, it's all. But certainly quarterly, to me, at least quarterly, would be something I think would be, that way it forces us to meet.
Right, and what we do, is we ask council to ratify a resolution that sets the dates and times of the meeting. So as part of that, the meeting today is at 5. A lot of our other subcommittees, for example, are at 1:30, so you can, as a group, decide, different time, or earlier or later, is better. And again, the meeting routine, if you want to go quarterly, we can always schedule special meetings, so we don't have to necessarily lock in and say monthly meetings and then cancel a bunch of them, because then we have to do cancellation notices. But if you want to do quarterly, but have a special meeting somewhere thrown in there, that's something that we don't have to ask council to adopt.
It'd be good to stick with the October meeting for the TK updates, because that's something that they'll be pounding out really quickly. So maybe we keep that one on and then go from there. See where we land.
So we'll stick it on as a regular agenda item, and then we can come back and then we can kind of memorialize that with council. In January.
Sounds good. Questions, comments? Meeting adjourned 6:29. Thank you, everybody. Staying late.